Good morrow, scholars. Welcome back to Starfront. I figured since I didn't read second chapter yesterday, I was going to read two of these today, and then a third video. I just uploaded the thing for Mika to take a look at whenever he has a chance. Anyway, can't think of anything important I need to discuss now that I haven't already mentioned in the previous video. So we are on chapter 5, page 51. So close. McAnally's is a pub a few blocks from my office. I go there when I'm feeling stressed or when I have a few extra bucks to spend on a nice dinner. A lot of us fringe types do. Mac, the pub's owner, is used to wizards and all the problems that come along with us. There aren't any video games at McAnally's. There are no televisions or expensive computer trivia games. There isn't even a jukebox. Mac keeps a player piano instead. It's less likely to go haywire around us. Sorry. I say pub in the best senses of the word. When you walk in, you take several steps down into a room with a deadly combination of low clearance and ceiling fans. Sounds like a nightmare for me. If you're tall, like me, you walk carefully in McAnally's. There are 13 stools at the bar and 13 tables in the room. 13 windows set up high in the wall in order to be above ground level. Let some light in from the street into the place. 13 mirrors on the walls cast back reflections of the patrons in dim detail and give the illusion of more space. 13 wooden columns carved with the likenesses from folk tales and legends of the old world make it difficult to walk around the place without weaving a circuitous route. They also quite intentionally break up the flow of random energies, dispelling to one degree or another the auras that gather around broody, grumpy wizards and keeping them from manifesting in unintentional and colorful ways. That hurt. Hey, remind me to get him some more water. The colors are all muted, earth browns and sea greens. That sounds nice. Sorry. Where was I? The first time I entered McAnally's, I felt like a wolf returning to an old favorite den. Mac makes his own beer, ale really, and it's the best stuff in the city. His food is cooked on a wood-burning stove, and you can walk your own self over to the bar to pick up your order when it's ready, according to Mac. It's my sort of place. It does sound delightful. Since the calls to the morgues had turned up nothing, I kept a few bills out of Monica Sells' retainer and took myself to McAnally's. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. After the kind of day I've had, I deserved some of Mac's ale and someone else's cooking. It was going to be a long night, too, once I went home and started trying to figure out how whoever it was had pulled off the death spell used on Johnny Marcone's hatchet man, Tommy Tom, and his girlfriend, Jennifer Stanton. The Dark is Rising. Was the main character's name Will Stanton? Oh, also, before I forget, I had Panda Express for the first time yesterday, and I wasn't that impressed. Maybe it's just me. Dresden. Mac greeted me when I sat down at the bar. The dim, comfortable room was empty, but for a pair of men I recognized by sight at a back table playing chess. Mac is a tall, almost gangly man of indeterminate age, though there's a sense to him that speaks of enough wisdom and strength that I wouldn't venture that he was less than 50. I don't know. He has squinty eyes and a smile that is rare and mischievous when it manifests. Mac never says much, but when he does, it's almost always worth listening to. Hey there, Mac, I hailed him. Been one heck of a day. Give me a steak sandwich, fries, ale. Mac said. He opened a bottle of his ale and began to pour it warm, staring past me into the middle distance. He does that with everyone. Considering his clientele, I don't blame him. I wouldn't chance looking them in the face either. You hear what happened at the Madison? He confirmed. Nasty business. Such an inane comment apparently didn't merit even a grunted reply. Max set my drink out and turned to the stove behind the bar, checking the wood and raking it back and forth to provide even heating for it. How did I confuse myself? I picked up a pre-thumbed newspaper nearby and scanned the headlines. Hey, look at this. Another 3-eye rampage. Geez, this stuff is worse than crack. What? The article detailed the virtual demolition of a neighborhood grocery store by a pair of 3-eyed junkies who were convinced that the place was destined to explode and wanted to beat destiny to the punch. What? You ever seen anything like this? Max shook his head. They say that stuff gives you the third sight, I said, reading the article. Both junkies had been admitted to the hospital and were in critical condition after collapsing at the scene. What? I'm confused. But you know what? Beck looked back at me from the stove while he cooked. I don't think that's possible. What a bunch of malarkey. Trying to sell these poor kids on the idea that they can do magic. Mac nodded at me. If it was some serious stuff, the department would have already called me by now. Mac shrugged, turning back to the stove, then he squinted up and peered into the dim reflection of the mirror behind the bar. Harry, he said, you were followed. I had been too tense for too much of the day to avoid feeling my shoulders constrict in a sudden twinge. I put both my hands around my mug and brought a few phrases of quasi-Latin to mind. It never hurt to be ready to defend myself in case someone was intending to hurt me. I watched someone approach, a dim shape in the reflection cast by the ancient, worn mirror. Mac went on with the cooking, unperturbed. Nothing much perturbed Mac. I smelled her perfume before I turned around. Why, Miss Rodriguez? Again, pulled over from my Twilight series. I said, it's always pleasant to see you. She came to an abrupt stop a couple of paces from me, apparently disconcerted. One of the advantages of being a wizard is that people always attribute anything you do to magic, if no other immediate explanation leaps to mind. She probably wouldn't think about her perfume giving her identity away when she could assign my mysterious blind identification of her to my mystical powers. I would love to do that. Come on, I told her. Sit down. I'll get you a drink while I refuse to tell you anything. Huh. I wish I had the ability to do voices and accents. Harry, she admonished me. You don't know I'm here on business. She sat down at the bar stool next to me. She was a woman of average height and striking dark beauty, wearing a crisp business jacket and skirt hose. What? Skirt, hose, pumps? What? So many words I don't recognize. Her dark, straight hair was trimmed in a neat cut that ended the skin of her forehead, emphasizing the lazy appeal of her dark eyes. What? What? Susan, I chided her. You wouldn't be in this place if you weren't. Did you have a good time in Branson? Susan Rodriguez was a reporter for the Chicago Arcane, what? A yellow magazine that covered all sorts of supernatural and paranormal events throughout the Midwest. Usually the events covered weren't much better than Monkey Man scene with Elvis's love child, or JFK's mutant ghost at Death's shape-shifting Girl Scout. But once in a great while, the Arcane covered something that was real, like the unseelie incursion of 1994, when the entire city of Milwaukee had simply vanished for 2 hours. Gone. Government satellite photos showed the river valley covered with trees and empty of life or human habitation. All communication ceased. Then, a few hours later, there it was, back again, and no one in the city itself the wiser. She had also been hanging around my investigation in Branson the previous week. She had been tracking me ever since interviewing me for a future story right after I'd opened up my business. I had to hand it to her. She had instincts and enough curiosity to get her into 10 kinds of trouble. She had tricked me into meeting her eyes at the conclusion of our first interview. An eager young reporter investigating an angle on her interviewee. She was the one who had fainted after we had soul-gazed. What? Oh yeah, I remember. She smirked at me. I liked her smirk. It did interesting things to her lips. What? Now I'm uncomfortable. And hers were already attractive. That's not helping. You should have stayed around for the show, she said. It was pretty impressive. She put her purse on the bar and slid up onto the stool beside me. No thanks, I told her. I'm pretty sure it wasn't for me. My editor loved the coverage. She's convinced it's going to win an award of some kind. I can see it now, I told her. Mysterious visions haunt drug-using country star. Real hard-hitting paranormal journalism, that. What? I glanced at her, and she met my eyes without fear. She did let me see if my jibe had ruffled her. I heard you got called in by the SI director today, she told me. She leaned toward me, and up that glance down would have afforded an interesting angle to the V of her white shirt. What? Sorry. I'd love to hear you tell me about this one, Harry. She quirked a smile at me that promised themes. I almost smiled back at her. Sorry, I told her. I have a standard non-disclosure agreement with the city. Something off the record, then, she asked. Rumor has it these killings are pretty sensational. Can't help you, Susan, I told her. Wild horses couldn't drag it out of me, etc. Just a hint, she pressed. A word of comment, something shared between two people who are very attracted to one another. Which two people would that be? She put an elbow on the counter and propped her chin in her hand, studying me through narrowed eyes and thick, long lashes. One of the things that appealed to me about her was that even though she used her charm and femininity, I don't think I said that right, relentlessly in pursuit of her story, she had no concept of just how attractive she really was. I had seen that when I looked within her last year. What? Harry Dresden, she said. You are a thoroughly maddening man. Her eyes narrowed a bit further. You didn't look down my blouse. What? Even once, did you? She accused. I'm confused. I took a sip of my ale and beckoned Mac to pour her one as well. He did. Guilty. Most men are off balance by now, she complained. What does it take with you anyway, Dresden? I am pure of heart and mind, I told her. I cannot be corrupted. She stared at me in frustration for a moment, then tilted her head back to laugh. She had a good laugh, too, throaty and rich. What? I did look down at her mind when she did that, just for a second. That pure heart and mind only takes you so far. Sooner or later, the hormones have their say too. I mean, I'm not exactly a teenager or anything anymore, but I'm not exactly an expert in things like this either. Followed an overwhelming interest in my professional career, but I've never had much time for dating or women in general. I agree. And when I have, it hasn't turned out too well. Susan was a known quantity. She was attractive, bright, appealing. Her motivations were clear and simple, and she was honest in pursuing them. She flirted with me because she wanted information as much as because she thought I was attractive. I don't have that problem. Did I just slur? Problem. Sometimes she got it, sometimes she didn't. This one was way too hot for Susan or the arcane to touch, and if Murphy heard I tipped someone off about what had happened, she'd had my heart between two pieces of bread for lunch. I could see her actually doing that. "I'll tell you what, Harry," she said. "How about if I ask some questions and you just answer them with a yes or a no?" "No," I said promptly. Dang it. I'm a poor liar, and it didn't take a reporter with Susan's brains to tell it. Their eyes glittered with cheerfully malicious ambition. Was Tommy Tom murdered by a paranormal being or beings? "No," I said again, stubbornly. "No, he wasn't?" Susan asked. "Or no, it wasn't a paranormal being." I glanced at Mac as though to appeal for help. Mac ignored me. Mac doesn't take sides. Mac is wise. "No, I'm not going to answer questions," I said. Do the police have any leads? Any suspects?" "No." "Are you a suspect yourself, Harry?" Disturbing thought. "No," I said, exasperated. "Susan, would you mind having dinner with me Saturday night?" "No, I blinked at her. "What?" She smiled at me, leaned over, and kissed me on the cheek. Her lips that I'd admired so much felt very, very nice. "What?" "Super," she said. "I'll pick you up at your place, say around 9. "Did I just miss something?" I asked her. "I'm confused." She nodded, dark eyes sparkling with humor. "I'm going to take you to a fantastic dinner. Have you ever eaten at the Pump Room? What? At the Ambassador East?" I shook my head. "Steaks you wouldn't believe," she assured me. "And the most romantic atmosphere, jackets and ties required. Can you manage?" Yes," I said carefully. "This is the answer to the question whether or not I'll go out with you, right?" "No," Susan said with a smile. "That was the answer I tricked out of you, so you're stuck there. I just want to make sure you own something besides jeans and button-down Western shirts." "Oh, yes," I said. "Super," she repeated, kissed me on the cheek once more as she stood up and gathered her purse. "Saturday, then." She drew back and quirked her quirky little, smirky little smile, there we go, at me. It was a killer look, sultry and appealing. "I'll be there with bells on." "What?" I actually have been told that I need to wear bells because I walk too quietly and I scare people. She turned and walked out. I sort of turned to stare after her. My jaw slid off the bar as I did and landed on the floor. Had I just agreed to a date or an interrogation session? "Probably both," I muttered. Max slapped my steak sandwich and fries down in front of me. I put down some money, morosely, and he made change. "She's going to do nothing but try to trick information out of me that I shouldn't be giving her, Mac," I said. Mac agreed. Why did I say yes? Mac shrugged. She's pretty, I said. Smart. Attractive. Any red-blooded man would have done the same thing. Max snorted. Well, maybe not you. Max smiled a bit, mollified. Still, it's going to make trouble for me. I must be crazy to go for someone like that. I picked up my sandwich and sighed. Dumb, Max said. I just said she was smart, Mac. Mac's face flickered into that smile, and it made him look years younger, almost boyish. Not her, he said. You. I like this guy. I ate my dinner and had to admit that he was right. This threw a wrench into my plans. My best idea for poking around the cell's lake house and getting information had been carried out at night. And I already had tomorrow night slated for a talk with Bianca. Who's Bianca? I forgot. Oh, right. Since I had a feeling Murphy and Carmichael would fail to turn up any cooperation from vampires, that meant I would have to drive out to Lake Providence tonight, since Saturday night was now occupied by the date with Susan. Or at least the pre-midnight portion was. My mouth went dry when I considered that maybe the rest of the night might be occupied too. One never knew. She had dizzied me and made me look like an idiot. It doesn't sound that difficult if you know what you're doing. And she was probably going to try every trick she knew to drag more information out of me for the Monday morning release of The Arcane. On the other hand, she was attractive, intelligent, and at least a little attractive to me. That indicated that more might happen than just talk and dinner, didn't it? The question was, did I really want that to happen? I had been a miserable failure in relationships ever since my first love went sour. I mean, a lot of teenage guys fail in their first relationships. Not many of them murder the girl involved. What? I shied away from that line of thought, lest it bring up too many old memories. I left McCandley's after Mac had handed me a dodgy bag with a grunt of Mr. by way of explanation. The chess game in the corner was still in progress, both players puffing up a sweet-smelling smoke cloud from their pipes. I tried to figure out how to deal with Susan while I walked out to my car. Did I need to clean up my apartment? Did I have all the ingredients for the spell I would cast at the lake house later tonight? Would Murphy go through the roof when I talked to Bianca? I could still feel Susan's kiss lingering on my cheek as I got in the car. I shook my head, bewildered. They say we wizards are subtle. But believe you me, there we go. We've got nothing at all on women. I agree. How many pages are in this book anyhow? Okay. That's a decent size. 322 pages. Okay. Let me know what you guys think. What was I going to say? I'm really thirsty and kind of hungry, so I'm going to grab a quick bite to eat and drink some more water. As you can see, I'm running out. I paid for it by Ozarka. I wonder how the girlfriend died. Considering the kind of person he is, at least in the present day, I'm going to say it was some kind of an accident that he feels responsible for. Kind of like with Constantine. The show, never mind, I don't want to spoil it in case anybody hasn't seen the first episode. But since it's been canceled, I guess it's kind of your fault. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about that. Any suggestions you have for me and Mika. And until next time, goodbye everybody. I'm not a good writer.